If this is your first time, a reminder, put your question in the comment, whatever you're watching streaming-wise for today's guest, which is Jonathon and Amelia Sawyer. Guys, thanks for coming out here. You're used to the Greenhouse Tavern. Now we're in like the Greenhouse box here, out in front of Noodlecat out here at Crocker Park. So one of the restaurants that you're running here in the Cleveland area, that's what everybody knows you as, and you have that food love as well, food blogger, and you're kind of a partner here with him on a lot of this stuff as well.
Yeah.
I'd say more than kind of a partner. I think, I get all the credit. I'm standing on top of really the shoulders of Amelia and, 200 other great Clevelanders for the past decade here.
Yeah.
And Noodlecat's just one of the many examples, whether it's Rock Hall or upcoming restaurant in Van Aken, of, what you can do when you got a great team behind you.
What was it about food that drew you both to it? Because it's something obviously you're both passionate about.
Well, for me, it wasn't really about food. It was more about the person. Yeah, I didn't really eat good food until I met him.
Really?
And then,
trash.
I moved to New York and I just got like $20 pizzas every day and, bad sushi. So he really introduced me to like good food and, that kind of lifestyle.
You used to tell everybody you married me for my chicken.
I
That
did,
was one of the
Well, he made like the best chicken I've ever had still to this day. He doesn't ever make it for me anymore.
CP chicken.
Yeah.
K2 too.
So, and it was just like pepper and salt, and it was love at chicken.
And you guys met in high school in
did.
Strongsville. You both grew up around here. It wasn't love at first sight though. It took
for half
windy
of us,
road,
it may very well have been love at first sight. For the other half, for the dumper, not the dumpee, it's always two sides to every story.
Are we picking off the scab today?
No. This scab has been worked for 24 years, and it's not coming loose at any point in time. But, truth be told, we both were born in other cities, me in Chicago, Amelia in St. Pete Beach, Florida, but Cleveland and Strongsville specifically were our home growing up. And that's where we met and, went our separate ways once college started.
And you guys have made this a home. You've opened some restaurants here. Talk to us a little bit about the idea behind these. Greenhouse Tavern obviously has been here for a while. It's now a staple in the landscape of Cleveland, culinary.
Yeah.
Noodlecat out here at Crocker Park. You mentioned a little bit earlier about working in Van Aken, where you're not just opening a restaurant, you're kind of behind the whole culinary feel and vibe out there.
True.
And then you got another one coming to Columbus. You're in a couple of the arenas. How do you do all that?
Carefully, you learn from your mistakes. I think for us it was important as we had kid and then kids to come back and affect our home address, and also have them have a similar childhood to the one that we had, with all of its flaws and all of its fun. So that was really the reason why, as we started to realize our careers, it was here in Cleveland. We really could have chose anywhere in the world, to open. We had lived in Rome and Miami and New York and other cities, but we really felt this magnetism to come back and be a part of that new Cleveland. And the Greenhouse is the oldest current restaurant that we own and operate. It's 10 years old.
10.
Yep, 10 years old. But I think our imprint is more by the graduates of the Greenhouse Tavern and Team Sawyer collectively. As you look out at the scene, as you eat a plate of food in a modern restaurant here, or elsewhere as well, Detroit, Denmark, Cleveland, Chicago. There's a lot of graduates that we're really proud to, consider a member of our family extended, no matter what the terms were at the end.
Are you guys the guinea pig when he's coming up with a new dish or a new way to do something? Is the home life, is that where it's like, okay, it may look weird, but guys, trust me, sit down and eat this. How does that work?
Yeah, sometimes it definitely does. We all kind of like to cook together, and our kids like to try new things. We have a rule that it's like once, and you have to try it once. You don't have to like it, but you have to try it once. And that's kind of how Lou started with the clams. Like our daughter Louisiana, she goes to the Greenhouse and orders 2 orders of clams and eats them, clams and pois. She's been doing it since we opened, pretty much. For 10 years.
Who does the cooking? Because you're a food blogger. a lot
I'm not
about
a
food
food
as well.
blogger. I'm a freelance writer. I used to have a blog, but it wasn't about food. It was more about being married to a chef and being in the restaurant industry. So it wasn't, I'm not a good cook. He will attest to that. I can make a mean margarita and some polenta, but my blog was never recipes or anything. Sometimes it was little recipes that I do at the house, but for the most part it was more about the industry and the culture and being married to a chef and someone who works 100 hours a week, especially in Manhattan. We had young babies and I was home and So that's kind of how that evolved. But now, like, that writing has changed, and I just started actually writing for Food and Wine magazine again for their pro section, which is all about, like, the restaurant industry and things like that. So I don't remember the original question and how it evolved into that.
Well, but kind of using your family as a
Oh,
guide.
yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah, we cook
Yeah, I mean,
together.
we cook at home all the time, and I think sometimes the meals that we cook at home or that we craft or that we attempt at home become a prototype that ends up going on the menu at one of the restaurants, or vice versa. Something at the restaurant will come home.
Yeah, like
but there's
the
definitely a
clam
synergy.
pasta.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a clam pasta that Lou did?
I mean,
with you a couple
Lulu's
years ago?
linguine and clams is actually in both my books. It's the
Yeah.
only recipe that I repeated in both books.
Yeah.
But it was in Noodle Kids, which is 7 years old and based on 50 recipes that we cook as a family, based around noodles and around the world.
Yeah.
And then the newest one, House of Vinegar, also has Lulu's and linguine and clams in it as well.
Yeah.
You're obviously very passionate about vinegar. Do you ever go enough? Like, I'm enough of the sour vinegar.
No,
want
I
something-
really like vinegar. It's really good for you, and it's good for your hair, and it's good to clean with, and it's good for heartburn. I mean, vinegar is like the best ingredient ever.
Yeah.
So, no, I support the obsession.
Yeah, I mean, vinegar is as old as wine and beer.
Yeah.
Want to jump online here and
Sure.
see what sort of questions we're getting. Hannah is asking if you'd ever try Iron Chef again.
Yeah, I mean, there's 9 iterations of it, and I've come to really relish in the professional second place award winner from our region. So whether it was Iron Chef Gauntlet or Next Iron Chef or any of those, we're always sort of coordinating our schedule.
Someone was asking me before I came about the secret ingredient. Is
Yeah.
it a complete surprise, or do they let you know, listen, it could be one of these 5 or one of these 10, or are you just blindsided when you get that?
I mean, to be honest, there's been an evolution. In the beginning of American culinary television, there was a little bit of gamesmanship happening, and I won't say any names to what programs did that, but some of the talent on the Food Network would get their potential ingredients
before.
prior to the challenger.
Okay.
But definitely over the past 7 years, they have locked that stuff down with $1 million non-D and don't tell you until everybody's told at the exact same time. So sometimes it might be 30 minutes before the battle. Sometimes it might be right in the battle. Either way, they're going to film your reaction and then give you some time afterwards. So like what you see on our faces when we're on TV
That's legit.
is genuine, yeah. And then sometimes they give you a little bit of time in between seeing the live tile fish or bananas and banana blossoms to think about what you would do with an ingredient you've never really cooked with before.
Does he ever wake up
You love
screaming banana?
He has
nightmares.
some banana issues.
I do not like
They
the
are
sound
not-
of other people eating bananas.
they are not
I don't
healed.
like ripe bananas.
Well, it's so funny because our old chef Brian Goodman hates bananas.
He
and
hates
I always
bananas.
thought that was so funny that
Yeah.
he hated he absolutely hated them with the core of his whole being, and then that's what you lost on. I was like, the universe is,
Yes.
I don't know,
Go for Carmery.
bananas.
Connor wants to know what it's like to have James Beard Award winner.
To be honest, it's kind of like
Next to your name. What's it like
Yeah.
to have it next to your name?
it's still sort of surreal. There's still like I don't know, like I still feel like
Did that
everyone's going to
happen?
figure out that I actually didn't win. Like still now, 5 years removed, I don't necessarily hold it as closely as I should or could. But it was a life goal, and it was amazing for us. And I'll never forget the moment and the moments, leading up to it and after it. But I think it's easier for me specifically to kind of like just forget about the awards pretty quickly and just try to move on.
Yeah. You've won several. I mean, James Beard obviously up here, but you've been named top chef from some different organizations and stuff.
Yeah.
Does that play at all into your future endeavors where you're thinking, I've set the bar this high? Does it put a little bit of pressure on you?
Yeah, I just think that it's another piece of the jigsaw puzzle that's being a restaurateur. It's necessary to have social media, to do live streams from a glass box full of emotions, to win awards. But, the American audience is craven for more stories and more information about everything in their life, including chefs and restaurateurs. So without little bits like this, awards like this, conversations like this, your seats will be empty.
Let's talk a little bit about Noodlecat, which is behind us. There was a location downtown. It closed, but we opened up here at Crocker. Give me a little comparison and contrast to the downtown location versus this location. Somebody maybe not been out here.
Yeah, I mean, even in the downtown location, there was evolution from, first bowl of ramen, first time back from Japan to last bowl of ramen we served as we were preparing to open out here in Crocker Park. But it turned, from something that was ingredient worship and very minimalistic Japan to something that's very American and very easy to understand and consume, no matter if you're gluten-free, paleo, keto, or you want to get 3,000 calories in because you're hungover. There's an equation for all of
and it's fast.
For everybody there.
You're going to walk in, you're going to get your bowl of noodles within 5 minutes, and you're out. It's not like Noodlecat downtown was a sit-down, dine-in. Crocker is quick serve. It's a quick serve restaurant. So it's got, bubble tea. We have 37 different kinds of bubble teas with popping bubbles and boba and a bunch of snacks. And you can make your own noodle. So, it's kind of like the make your own noodle bowl. You pick which kind of ramen or udon or rice noodles or tofu noodles or greens, which is one of my favorites because you can eat super healthy too. So it's just it's a different, faster, version of Noodlecat.
How hard is it to have a restaurant in downtown Cleveland right now? I know a lot of things on people's mind, like parking situation comes into play, where out here you have free lots all around. You can park and walk downtown. A lot of times it's, you got to go to a garage. Does that come into play when you're thinking about where are we going to open our next restaurant?
I don't think it's the parking. I think it's the amount of restaurants that have opened in the past 10 years. That's what I think.
Yeah,
and you have a lot of
kind of an
options
oversaturation.
now. Oh, there is. 100%.
Just industry-wise, it's interesting when we pay attention to the nerdy stuff. That's stats and data and year after year sales of owner-operators versus chains, and everybody's got a little bit of a doldrum, if not a depression happening right now. If you look at the past 18 months or 6 quarters compared to the previous 5 years, where you saw owner-operators go from 2% of the overall $280 billion pie all the way into the double digits, and now same-store sales are sort of leveling out a little bit, and then we'll see what the next couple of years brings. But it's always cyclical, whether it's restaurants or whatever else.
Well, restaurants kind of have that rap about being one of the most difficult businesses to be in and to run. Why is that? And is that true?
Yes.
Yes, and it's harder now than ever before, no matter what anybody says.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you were a craftsman and you were good at making ramen, you just made ramen, and that was it. And you close your doors at night. But now you need to be left brain and right brain, or you need to have enough money and enough people behind you to delegate the left and right of what it takes to run a restaurant. Whether it's inventory, scheduling, HR, and then the PR, the appearances, the conversations, the genuineness of your social media. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's it's the few out of the many that really get to do it for as long as we have. How
do you guys split that up? Is it, I'll take this restaurant, you take that, or I'll take this aspect of it, you take that aspect of it?
I'm actually going back to writing.
Yeah.
So we, are lucky enough that Jonathan has partnered with some really, really good operators, and I'm going to be able to focus on my writing because that's what I did before.
Yeah.
I worked in the restaurants, and I have a calling back to it, I guess. I don't know.
No, it's true. I mean, it's a long time coming that we've wanted to separate, proverbial church and state. We did great together and are a great team, but we're really valuing our house and our home and our family over top of the professional relationship, and that comes back to, Amelia sidelining her writing career for 2, 4, 5, 7 years just to make sure that we could, continue to have restaurants here in Cleveland.
Get back to online and see what sort of questions are coming up. Jessica wants to know, what are both of your best accomplishments?
Being a good parent.
I have children.
Jinx.
Double jinx.
But it's like, I think taking pride in being a good parent is first and foremost to us, A, and B, it's something that we have never stopped working on, and I think through our relationship we've known and worked a lot on our bodies or on our restaurants or on our menus, but one constant has always been put the kids above everything. And I think they're pretty good people. But not in
the helicopter parenting kind of way.
No. We're rational, thought induced modern parents.
Yeah.
It's basically like 70% of what we do is the opposite of what our parents did, and the other 30% is research through tons of data online. And that's how we got to...
We do not lie to our children.
Yeah.
Good mix.
Yeah.
A question coming in, how did you and Jason Kipnis get together to partner up, and why did you pick Columbus?
Well, I think the whole Kipnis story is still sort of
under wraps.
Too premature
Too
to
early.
fully talk about.
Right.
But we've been looking at Columbus for 8 years, and we've been looking for great partners in Columbus. And the problem that we've always had to this point is, we're not a big group. We're just, we're running it. These two people you see in this glass box,
And
for
it's
now.
not me. I'm not the other one.
Unless you want to. There's nobody.
There's nobody.
We'll
We're
talk when the
interviewing.
cameras
There
are
you
done.
go.
But truth be told, the deal never presented itself. And then through our current partners, Bobby Ruddery and Michael Schwartz, through Forward Hospitality Group, we just sort of formed the synergy. And Jason and them and us, we all came together.
Have you known Jason for a while, or did this kind of
The
get...
Indians all kind of love Greenhouse.
Yeah,
They all
they've
come
been really
They're-
faithful.
Yeah, they it's like
Clevenger.
their
I mean, there's. I don't want to name names because I think that's one of the things that's genuine about us is that we never take pictures. We protect the backdoor policy. People that want to use it, people use the front door. But he wanted to. He's a showman. Yes, of course. But I think that anonymousness is valued, and that's why we've got great relationships with people we can neither confirm nor deny eat at the restaurant on a regular basis.
You're expanding to Columbus. Is the ultimate goal, would you like to expand to Florida and Texas, or are you very much, I want to stay in the Buckeye State?
I think over the next 5 years, we want to be very smart about where we open. While our kids are getting to and through high school, it's important that we're still here and we're still putting them first. So that means it probably will be regional. And I don't know if region means state only, in-state, or if we would include, Detroit or Pittsburgh or, Indianapolis or Chicago. I don't know what that means. But, we've been on hiatus for a couple of years. This is the last new project we did. It started about 3.5 years ago, and we're opening 2 this year. So that's a big jump for us, and we'll see what next year brings.
I want to jump back online. So we're talking a little bit about athletes. So Odell Beckham Jr. just got to town. He tweeted, I think it was last night, wants restaurant suggestions. What say you guys? If he's looking for suggestions.
Well, I think Twitter answered quite a few times and recommended the Greenhouse Tavern multiple times. I saw it this morning. So we would also recommend the Greenhouse Tavern. And any other restaurants?
That's really the only one that matters, I got to be honest. No, I think there's a phenomenal list.
Is there a top 5? If someone
you know
were to
what?
ask you?
When he was talking about chefs that left, my favorite restaurant in Cleveland right now, well, I have 2. The Plum is Brett Sawyer's restaurant, and I just love it because I just think he's cooking simple, really good food with good ingredients, and their cocktails are excellent.
Tons of our graduates are there.
And then my other favorite restaurant is Harlow's. It's a pizzeria in Lakewood, and it's really simple. Like, you are getting pizza, and that's it, and some tequila probably. And it's just awesome in a cute little building on Madison. And
I would say Michael's Genuine Food and Drink as well. It just opened
that
over
just
in Van
opened.
Aken.
Our old chef Vinny from Trentina is the chef there.
And Michael's a beard winner as well from Florida.
Yeah.
So, eventually when we open there, you'll have the only other street besides East 4th where there's 2 beard award winning chefs on the same block in the same address, in the same zip code. And their food is very unique to them. It's this mix of, East Coaster and Florida. It's really interesting. When I lived in Miami and I tried it for the first time, I remember just like,
it's a great
Michael's
restaurant.
food. I would say Black Pig as well.
Yeah.
Mike Nowak, friend and former graduate of ours, is another consistent one.
What can you share about Van Aken? You were talking a little bit about that, and as we mentioned, not only are you going to have a restaurant there, you're also kind of orchestrating this whole thing.
Well, our interests change the older we get and the more we learn in restaurants, and we're less interested in like the hot new lease and more in like, does this relationship make sense for us long term? Is it a district that we can improve and see a benefit in? And as we lived in Shaker, in one of the oldest pre-French Schweringer houses of that city, and in Cleveland Heights, we realized that there was, a gross inadequacy of seats and people being served for a very faithful dining republic, especially when you're talking about owner-operator.
Yeah.
As you go, no names, but it's very easy to get a corporate bowl of noodles, but it's very hard to get an owner-operator table over there. So we wanted to be part of the district. We wanted to help, curate everybody that's going to be serving the food. And I think at the end, it's sort of as it should be. We'll open last, and we're really probably the most excited about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned you moved over in that area. Now I heard you guys have moved like 4 times,
We
right?
move
In
a
the
lot.
last several
Yeah,
years.
I think if we didn't have kids or restaurants, we would be like gypsy world travelers. So we move a lot. I like to think of it as a soul cleansing because we get rid of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's like a more expensive Marie Kondo.
Yeah, it is. Maybe I should get a Netflix show.
Just sell your house and lose a couple of G's every 3 years. We've lived in 10 different addresses though. In our relationship.
Have we?
Yes.
Yeah, we move a lot. Although,
see, to most people, they hate moving. I always say they're going to bury me in my backyard.
I like the opportunity and like the excitement of moving. I don't like.
He doesn't like the moving.
The maintenance of leaving a place.
He's so dramatic.
I'm more of an unpacker than I am a packer.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a super dramatic packer.
What are you looking for when you guys are moving? What speaks to you house-wise?
We've only lived in old houses until this house.
Yeah.
We've lived every freaking house we've had.
1863 and shit.
It's built in 1800, 1900, like nothing under 100 years old.
Yeah.
And this house that we happened to like stumble upon with our realtor, Carrie Brown, who's amazing. It's not a house any of our family or friends would have ever thought we would have bought, but it is like on 5 acres. It's brand new. The people who bought it, the guy works for Cleveland Clinic. They built it like from, nothing. And he got transferred to Open London, Cleveland Clinic, and we just like super lucked out. And everything is new. And every day we're like, oh my God, this is what it's like to not have everything break around you at all times. Like, I mean, honestly, we've not gone plastic, but like we haven't had anything break.
I think this is pleather.
Knock on pleather.
Yeah, we've had.
But we live next to a cow farm, and we are on 55 acres of a nature preserve, which is all like ramps. I went and picked some ramps on Easter with our son, and it's peaceful. Like we get home from the city, and there's like no lights, and there's just sounds and
stars.
Cows.
It's kind of your own little oasis out there.
It really is. And I guess we didn't realize that we needed that, but I think it has been really good for us.
Agreed.
To be able to come home
I just need a bigger motorcycle now.
You can put that on the works. Jumping back here online and getting some questions. Somebody wants to know if there's any thought down the road to reopening Trentina anywhere.
Yes, in St. Bart's when we're retired.
Yes, we're accepting investors now.
There you go.
For that location.
We are going to, it's when we'll work together again.
Yeah.
We'll open a 20-seater in St. Bart's on the beach when our kids are gone and
done.
That's it.
Little backstory. Trentina, that was the one that, give me this climate thing, because I saw about this. You're saying Cleveland has the same kind of climate as northern Italy.
Yeah, it's very similar, the growing regions, from the apples to the kind of wheat that we grow, especially traditionally, to the prevalence of corn and wheat being in the same place. Because typically, as you think about corn and wheat, especially when it refers to the boot, the southern half is all wheat, the northern half is all corn. It's called the polenta belt. But they are above the polenta belt, but also, like us here, have just enough warm weather where they can grow corn and wheat at the same time. So it's really interesting, and I think what I liked about it was seeing the Germanic and Austrian and Italian sort of melting pot that is, Trento and northern Italy, and that similarity and commonality to Cleveland was, like a facepalm for me.
Light bulb moment.
Yeah, it was, seeing my grandma Wetzel's recipes interpreted through an Italian eye was just, amazing. And it was a really special place, and we look forward to revisiting it.
Jump back online. Someone wants to know if you have any food-related tattoos.
I don't think I do.
I don't
know. I do have one. This snail over here.
Oh, yeah, the slow
I told
foods.
the Slow Foods if they were going to make me an international delegate, which is it used to be every 4 years, it's every 2 years now, where they put together like 144 countries and
I forgot about that.
500 chefs, and we go to a symposium, you talk about your region and what's going on with you. But I kind of said jokingly but serious, like if I get nominated and I get to be an international delegate for America, I'll get the Slow Food snail tattoo. So, but I don't have like a knife and a skull and a knife and a I don't know what are the other like
it's really
piratey,
the knife on your knife. And then the knife.
You're supposed to have animal butchery charts on your body if you cook food now.
Okay.
Or a bundle of asparagus,
well,
maybe.
It would make sense to have some sort of
like a chart.
Like maybe a measuring.
Yeah.
I guess I go with popsicle too, but that's because
you can hold it up and see. Okay, we're at a fourth of a cup. I can measure that out.
Tablespoon.
We may have discovered something.
I feel like
you guys got something good there. Like those are great tattoo ideas.
Can we copyright that? I don't know if we can.
Definitely original ideas.
Other than vinegar, what's your favorite secret ingredient at home when you're cooking?
Probably fish sauce. Like I like to layer umami, like that fifth that extra sense that is sort of new to Americans relatively.
Yeah.
It means literally savory, but the idea of like Parmesan is rich in it, roasted tomatoes are rich in it, dried mushrooms are rich in it. It just comes from very strange places, but fish sauce or anchovies, which are very Italian, Spanish, really every country has some version of fermented fish condiment. Even the English do as well. Worcestershire sauce, Caesar dressing.
Yeah.
But I think that I've replaced the anchovies and the necessity of anchovy with fish sauce at home, and it becomes very similar and very easy to sort of amp up that flavor, and no one will ever know. My kids are never like, there's too much fish sauce in here. They're just like, this is delicious, braised lamb, or whatever it is.
Amelia, you said that his chicken was your favorite.
What?
Is there something that you and the kids at home, maybe when he cooks and you smell it, you're like, oh, not this again? What is his least favorite dish that he cooks for you?
I don't think there's anything that I don't like that you cook.
I mean, the kids hate when I cook breakfast.
Yeah, they hate
They're
breakfast.
over it because I've been doing it for so long, and I just
but
have a
you
limited
make
repertoire.
The weirdest breakfast.
I do.
So, yeah, they don't like the breakfast. But
Yeah.
for the most part, we love when you cook because
Yeah.
it's so much better than my cooking. So everyone's like, yay. I mean, the roasted vegetables are probably our favorite. I don't know.
Question coming in online. Any regrets on anything?
No, not really. I mean, is there things that we could have affected more positively in the moment? Yeah, but, what we did in the past got us here and will get us through to the future. And we don't really believe in regret, or I don't really believe in regret.
Are you speaking for me now?
No, that's why I changed it.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I would never.
Yeah, no, I try to focus on the future and, everything we learn and evolve from. So.
Well, I think that's also part of your writing, especially in these initial pieces for Food Mind Pro, is the mistakes that we've made and continue to make.
I can share with other people.
We can share with other people and help them. Maybe we can prevent 5 other chefs, owner-operators from having a bad lease or a bad partner or a bad vendor or, all of this stuff that culinary school, even if you graduate from there, doesn't give you training for.
Yeah. What is the current, in both your opinions, landscape of food restaurants in Cleveland right now? Where are we on the map? Because for the longest time, right, Cleveland's this downtrodden place that has a bad rep elsewhere, but a lot of people that live here go, we got some good stuff. And I think everyone feels this resurgence, and we've been talking about this resurgence. On the food side of things, where does it stand?
I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about the Midwest, Middle America, Rust Belt, food revolution, Cleveland was definitely first and big-time trailblazer and accolades, all the way back to Parker Bosley, Karen Small, and Mike Simon's, Food and Wine Best New Chef Award, and then eventual James Beard Award. So I think if you're counting 93 to 2015 or 2013, it was unquestioned in the Midwest, the city of our size. Maybe St. Louis was pretty close, but our closest neighbors, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cincy, they really weren't doing the same thing yet. I think while Cleveland hasn't necessarily taken a step back, all of our surrounding cities have gotten very good. And the food that you're seeing in Detroit right now, in Indianapolis, and Pittsburgh is on par, if not better, than what we're producing here. So I think there's an overall leveling of a higher playing field with our neighbors. That's probably where we are, And I think the only way to affect it is get back out there and spend dollars at, owner-operator restaurants, support each other, go to farmers markets, go to farms. That's truly the testament of the region is, pennies in the back pocket of your neighbors.
I want to end on this. Let's play the 10-year game. Look ahead 10 years. What are you guys doing? You have 20 restaurants at that point. We just kind of kick back and concentrate on one. Like, what's going on about 10 years from now?
I think your St. Bart's comment is just fine, and you can just expand on that. I mean, we joke, but we're serious. There's a dining experience that we had in Tokyo that both of us, felt affected our life, and the hospitality combined with the regionality combined with the food. And Sushi Show was just, just a picture of what could be perfect for us. And there was only 3 people that worked there, and none of them were allowed to speak except for the sushi master. And he paired your sake. That would, there's obviously there's some barriers, but the idea of having, I would like to be, because I do believe I'm better than anyone in our groups. I'd like to be your wine steward, dishwasher, and chef, and conversationalist. And that is a retirement plan that both of us would love to see.
Well, I hope I can get a reservation for 2 when you guys open it. Thank you so much
can.
for
Of course,
joining me
thank
in the
you.
truck, and we
Thank
thank
you.
you for being a part.
Pleasure.
Let's be clear.
Thank you.